This is the Season 1 finale of LTM 2K. This episode is Protect the Children. Morgan hurried her children inside. Bobby and Cindy looked confused. She held their arms tight as she pulled them through the front door. Morgan locked the door behind her and inspected the children's necks and faces. "Mommy," said Cindy, "what are you doing?" "Shh," said Morgan. "What's wrong, Mom?" said Bobby. "I said shh." The two children waited as their mother stepped back and spied out the window of the front door. Cindy fidgeted with her feet on the upturned corner of the carpet. Bobby kicked her shin. "Hey! Will you two just be quiet?" Morgan watched the front yard. The other children were being pulled into their homes as well. After the doors closed, the street appeared empty. Morgan held her breath. Bobby pushed Cindy over and she started to cry. "Mommy," said Cindy. "Bobby pushed me and I hurt my butt." "Quiet! Don't make any noise." Morgan saw him. The man pushed a lawnmower up the sidewalk. He stopped in front of her house. He turned and looked at her. His eyes were twice the size they should have been. He smiled, revealing two sets of askew, pointed teeth, stacked one inward and the other outward. She ducked down and held the handle of the door. Bobby looked at her. She mouthed the word quiet. Cindy left the entryway and went to the kitchen. "No, come back here," whispered Morgan. Cindy stopped and looked at her mother. "Stop!" Morgan wanted to dart over and pick her daughter up. She didn't want that man knowing someone was inside. Hopefully the man had gone. Morgan took a deep breath and slowly peeked out the window again. The lawnmower man was standing right in front of the door. His large eyes and grin hadn't changed. His short hair appeared wet. Morgan screamed. Natalie held Susie to her thigh and looked out the window to the Ferretti house across the street. A man with a lawnmower had just gone up to the door. He dragged the lawnmower behind him. The door opened and he entered the house. Maybe it was just a joke. Morgan wouldn't let someone in her house she didn't know. Susie had the scratch under her eye, though. Armando, the original parent that started the neighborhood group text, had sent out the message only a few minutes ago. It seemed like a bad Halloween joke, but when they heard the squeaking wheel, everyone ran inside. Susie had the scratch. What did that mean? "Mom, what are we hiding from?" "A bad guy, sweetie, a really bad guy." "Who?" "I don't know." Natalie fixated on the scratch under Susie's eye. There was nothing special about it. Susie came home with scrapes and bumps all the time. But did it mean something? "Mom, I'm scared." "Yeah, I suppose we shouldn't overreact. Let's go have a snack. Daddy should be home in a half hour. If something truly is wrong, he can protect us." "I don't want a snack." "What do you want then?" "I want to play outside." "No, not right now." The doorbell rang. Natalie tensed up. She shoved Susie down behind the couch and then looked through the peephole in the door. The man pulling the lawnmower was standing there looking back at her with huge eyes. His smile revealed a shark-like grin. He reached for the door handle. Natalie grabbed it and pushed back on the door. The knob turned as if the door were unlocked, and Natalie wasn't holding on at all. Susie screamed from the couch as the lawnmower man entered the room, pulling a rust-red gas mower behind him. Mark Lundberg held a shotgun in his hands and pointed it at the door. No one was going to kill him and take his kids away. Damn Armando to hell. Was it him? This had to be a joke. Trina had filed for divorce. At least that is what Morgan had told Mark a week ago when Philip was playing with Bobby. Maybe Armando snapped when Trina left. "Can I come out of my room now?" asked Philip from the hallway. "Not yet, son. Daddy has to protect the house." I'm hungry. I want a snack. Damn it, Philip, shut up and stay in your room. I want a fruit roll-up. Can you bring me one? No, now stop talking. Mark held the bead of his shotgun on the front door. The 2 deadbolts would hold. The shotgun was just a precaution. The man with the lawnmower wants your kids. He marked your kids. He is coming, and he will kill you. His wheel squeaks. Armando had to be joking. If it wasn't him, how could he know anything? This had to be a joke. When everyone else pulled their kids inside, Mark wanted to laugh. Then he heard a squeaking wheel coming from around the corner. Mark would do what he had to protect his family. No freak with a lawnmower would get him. The sliding back door opened. A squeaking noise came from the backyard. Mark jumped up and saw the man at the back slider. The lawnmower man pulled a bloody gas-powered trimmer. His teeth sat clenched together in a seemingly forced smile, and his eyes were massive. Mark pointed the shotgun at the man and squeezed the trigger. His 20-gauge autoloader chambered the next shell. Mark fired again. He went through all 4 shots before the trigger didn't work. The man with the lawnmower didn't have a mark on him. The door and wall were shattered and filled with shot. Lawnmower man walked toward the front room and never broke eye contact with Mark. He started the mower with a single pull. "Get the hell out of my house!" shouted Mark. Isabella had filled a backpack with snacks and clothes. Ernesto had gone to the garage. She asked him to buckle up in his car seat. After the shotgun sounds from next door, she didn't feel safe at home anymore. Ernesto sat in his car seat with the straps clipped into the buckle. Isabella would still need to tighten it, but he was a good boy for listening to her. She placed the overly stuffed bag into the van next to Ernesto and tightened his seat. "Mijo, we are going to take a drive to Abuelita's. ¿Está bien?" "Sí." She closed the door and got into the front seat. She locked the car, then turned it on. The alarm went off. She unlocked the car with the key fob and then relocked it. The alarm stopped. She opened the garage door. It went too slowly. She put the car in reverse, and the video feed from behind her popped up on the dashboard. The red, yellow, and green guidelines were displayed, but everything was black. Isabella looked in the rearview mirror. A man with huge eyes was staring at her with his face pressed up against the van's rear door. He had a grotesque smile with too many teeth. She screamed and floored the accelerator. The van pushed into the man, but didn't seem to go anywhere. The van acted as if she were trying to reverse into a solid concrete wall. Armando had gone to the back of his closet and retrieved his handgun. The magazine had 15 rounds, but he would only need 1. He left the gun's factory plastic box open on the bed. He considered using the gun right then, but he just couldn't. He would need a drink to steady his nerves. He left the bedroom. In the kitchen, he poured himself a shot of liquid courage. Half the brandy from his trip to England 5 years ago was left in the bottle. He ditched the shot glass and downed 2 large gulps. His mouth burned. His phone rang constantly from the coffee table in the living room. Armando couldn't answer it, and eventually it would stop. He went into the backyard and held the gun in his lap, waiting for the liquid courage to do its job. Rochelle had been mowed up into chunks. Armando couldn't get that picture out of his mind. Little bits of her were splattered all over the living room walls. And Sierra was gone. The thing had taken her. Yard clippings. Everything in the house smelled like yard clippings. If he ever mowed his yard again, he'd probably shit himself. He started to feel more stable. He might be able to do it. He held the gun up. His hand shook. Not enough time yet. He needed to keep waiting. The man told him to do the text. Armando would do whatever it took to get him out of his house. Plus, part of the deal was Armando would get Sierra back. Though now he felt like that part was a lie he wanted to believe. Those teeth were so wrong. It couldn't possibly be a man. It had to be something else. The eyes, too. No one had eyes that big. Some of the anime Armando had watched in high school made people look like that, but real people didn't have those big eyes. The world started to swim around Armando. He felt very drunk now. He held the gun up, and the shaking was gone. He closed his eyes and counted to 3. It didn't matter if he got Sierra back or not. Trina would be able to raise her. She was a much better mother than Armando wanted to admit. For only an instant, he managed to drown out the mowing sound from next door. From 20 feet deep in his own skull, Calvin watched as his hands pushed the rusted mower over each parent. Some of the children screamed. Others hid. It didn't matter. The creature could feel them. It would take them. He felt the sharp teeth cutting into his mouth. His cheeks hurt from smiling, but he couldn't open his jaw. The creature wouldn't let him. A red stain painted the sidewalk from door to door. To each house, Calvin's arm pulled his mower along behind him. His truck was parked at the end of the block. That first house was supposed to be a new customer, but when he knocked on the door, a woman with huge eyes and pointed teeth pulled him inside. She bit his arm. Immediately his vision turned black around the edges, and he floated away. He tried to turn his head. If only he could look at his arm, he might be able to see what happened. But he couldn't. When the creature did start looking around, it found the woman. She had fallen to the ground. The creature jumped on her and started stuffing its mouth with parts of her body. Calvin could feel the squishy chunks of meat sliding down his throat, yet he couldn't stop any of it. When the creature finished, it took the body to the back bedroom of the house. In the corner of the room, a smaller creature was looking at him. Its head moved in jumping fits like a bird. It looked kind of like a kid except for the large eyes and shark smile. After crossing the room, Calvin's hand caressed the side of the child's neck. There was a fresh cut above the collarbone. The creature controlling him told the young one to go play with the children outside, and it did. Calvin watched from the first house as the young one played with the children of the neighborhood. Each child walked away with their own cut. Now, after all the violence and feedings, the creature in charge of Calvin's body seemed done. The lawnmower wheels squeaked behind Calvin. He wanted to cover his ears and eyes, but he could only listen and watch. The creature went to the middle of the street and waited. From each house, a young creature walked out the front door. A dozen new offspring came to Calvin. Each one possessed huge eyes and dozens of sharp teeth. He wanted to do something, anything to stop them. Yet Calvin could do nothing, as the young creatures ate him alive. If you liked this week's episode, go ahead and give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss Season 2 of LTM 2K. And if you'd like more creative content like this, go to learningtomaster.com. If you or somebody that you know is having thoughts of suicide, please text or call the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. I'll see you next season on LTM 2K.